Okay, good evening.
Hi. I'm Ed McDonald and...
I'm Catriona Ward.
Yes.
And welcome to our self-isolating videocast.
We've been alone for a very long time.
That's true. And probably will be for the foreseeable future. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. This is off to a
not
brilliant...
a symptom.
This is a great start, obviously.
Sorry.
Okay, we're dead. So to start off, with me tonight is Catriona Ward, the author of Rawblood and Little Eve, and the forthcoming Last House on Needless Street, winner of the Shirley Jackson Award in 2019, and also the August Derleth Award for the British Fantasy Awards in both 2016 and 2019, and nominated for the Authors Club Best First Novel.
Sorry.
And The Death of Me, most likely.
With me tonight is Ed McDonald, award-nominated, award-winning author of the Raven's Mark trilogy, Gemmell-nominated, winner of the Hellfest Inferno Prize, the Book Nest bestdeals.eu, and I already said nominated for a Gemmell because I did know that.
I don't have as many awards as you.
I think you just talk about your awards less, which is why I know.
But I also literally have fewer.
But you were nominated for more.
Anyway,
which means that I too many.
I don't think this is what either of our viewers have dropped in to see. So, what are we going to be doing tonight? So, I've written this down. First of all, we are going to do a book review, or Kat's going to do a book review. Then we're going to deal with today's topic, which is called How Do You Even Begin? You might want to skip to that if you've watched all this bit so far, but since you've watched it, you can't...
We get better.
Just tell other people to skip skip the first 3 minutes of this.
No.
Then we have Alfie's important questions, where we'll deal with...
Is that your nephew?
Deal with questions posed to us by my 3-year-old nephew.
That's good.
After which we will do final reviews. That's a special treat. Don't want to miss that. And then you can... Well, by then you'll have turned it off anyway. So, to begin with, Kat, why don't you review a book that no one else has read?
Okay, well, I'm sure other people have read this, but I was very lucky to be sent a advance review copy of Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay, which I absolutely raced through. I'm going to condense this into as fast and as succinct a manner as possible, which actually is very in keeping with the style and tone of the book. It's set in essentially... for want of a better economical term, the zombie apocalypse. I think it's very, very uncanny that it's coming out now. What marks this book out from, I think, the rest of the fare that you're offered in this genre is the absolutely propulsive nature of the text. I simply couldn't stop reading it. And I mean that in a literal sense. It's like a tractor beam that draws you in. I'm pretty sure it's more or less in real time. Like from the moment you start the book to the moment you end the book. If you're reading consistently, things are happening in real time. There's not many cuts.
Would you recommend it?
Yes, highly. It was really good. It is really good. I think it's really different and it brings a new slant to the genre. This is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. I'm doing it right. Come on. Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. I thought it provided a really unexpected, unique slant on a fairly well-trodden ground.
Okay, so this brings us on to today's topic of how do you even begin. So we thought we'd talk about how do you start writing a book before you've even actually begun typing any words, and what process happens to you as an author to kick you off. So how do you begin? Do you have an idea? Do you have an ending? It's
different with each one, I think. I don't ever start a book the same way twice. I've only written 3 books, but each time the way they started was very, very different. The main thing that always needs to happen after you've had the initial idea or initial spark is you just have to put words on the page. There's no way around that, unfortunately.
That is a necessity.
It is. I mean, it sounds really bleeding obvious, but unless you sit down, no one can read what you didn't write. You've got to sit down and write it, even if it's the most abortive, imperfect form of your beautiful idea.
But do you have an idea to begin with of what you want to do?
I have an idea. It's often the wrong idea. Like, it's often, I think I'm writing something completely different, and then I discover halfway through that actually either the novel's about someone else, it's about another character in the story, or it's just the wrong angle, or actually the wrong focus or the wrong lens, you know.
Okay, yeah, so that's exactly the same for me. I normally just have a general idea of atmosphere that I want to write, and then I start writing it. I don't really think very much about where it's going.
Do you have your protagonists already set before you start?
No, but I typically think as soon as I start writing about a character, they aren't going to be who I thought they were going to be anyway. So if I think they're going to be a gruff old mercenary character, then by the time I finish writing their chapter, hopefully I will have actually had the good idea, which will be probably spurring me on to version 2 of that character before they get to version 9. And I typically don't know what the characters are like until I write the last chapter anyway.
And where do you stand on this this sort of, you often hear it repeated, this idea that, characters take on a life of their own and they do things you never expect?
I think that's authorial wankery. I think that I get it's a sort of sexy way of saying when I'm writing, I have my best ideas while I'm writing, because you think to yourself, oh, this character wouldn't do that, and what that means is that you've accidentally written the character in a way that you didn't expect to, and then you think, oh, well, for logical consistency, they have to do something else.
If you had to pick an image, like an image for a metaphorical image for writing, would it be writing as like sculpture, like chipping away at marble to form sculpture, or like oil painting? Which one seems more intuitive to you?
I think oil painting is better because you can paint something and then realise how rubbish it is, and then you paint over the top and you keep building layer upon layer.
Right.
And if you keep layering up the oil paints, then eventually, hopefully, you'll have something that looks pretty good. Whereas with the idea of you're uncovering a story that was hidden below, it wasn't hidden below because it doesn't exist until you get to the end and then fix it and then fix it and fix it.
I mean, logically that must be right, but it does feel sometimes like you are uncovering it, like it's something that's being unearthed and walked in, a world that's being walked into, not created. Rightly or wrongly, maybe it's part of the process.
That's true, and it often feels to me like I'm discovering things, but technically I'm not. I'm making them up and changing them, and I might feel like, oh, I've realised that the key to this whole world was X, Y, and Z, but it wasn't the key to the world because it didn't exist.